Hello, my name's Harry Whitehead. I'm a novelist. I teach creative writing, and White Road is my second novel. And I'm going to answer some questions from the lovely Wilbur and Niso Smith Foundation. How would I describe my book in 3 words? It's just about the trickiest question I could imagine after spending so many years writing it, but maybe a terrifying ecological disaster. What's the most essential component of a great adventure story? I love adventure stories, and adventure stories were always what I used to read as a child, and still now, at least half of the stories I read. And I think the most essential component is the sense of a journey into the unknown. Someone once called news from elsewhere. I love that about what adventure stories do. Do I write in silence or to music? I absolutely write in silence. I've got a big sign outside my office door that says "quiet" with an exclamation mark. My 2 kids have to tiptoe past my office whilst I'm writing. Where's the most exciting place my research has taken me? The most exciting place was my first novel, which took me inadvertently into a bear den in British Columbia in Western Canada. And I was following this little trail, hopelessly lost in the forest. And the trail, of course, was a bear trail, and I walked straight into a bear den. Happily, the bear was out visiting. Which character in White Road was the most difficult to write, and why? I think the most difficult character was Joe Amaruk, my Inuit oil worker, who's critical to the way the plot plays out. And to be somebody who isn't Inuit himself, writing someone from a minority group, it felt triply, quadruply important to get his background, his voice, the kind of issues that the Inuit in the Arctic are facing properly represented. And I feel I did do a decent job doing that, ultimately. Who would play the lead characters in a film adaptation? I always had Emily Blunt playing Carrie right from the beginning, right from the start of my imagining of the book. The other lead character, Jim Ross, the kind of morally compromised oil manager, would be played by the actor Tom Hollander. I think he'd be perfect for it. If I was heading off to the Arctic, the book I'd take with me would be, I think it would be a book called The Friendly Arctic by Sigmund Jur, who spent many years in the part of the Arctic that I wrote about. And he wrote this huge tome about all his journeys across the Arctic. And he always said, to have an adventure is a failure of planning, which I rather loved as an idea, but he certainly got himself into some sticky situations. The best or worst piece of writing advice I have ever received is, well, probably the worst piece, and the one that I've not paid any attention to, is write what you know. Because my first book was set in 1900 among the First Nations people in the British Columbian wilderness. This book is about the oil business in the Arctic, none of which I've ever had any kind of professional or personal connections to. But what I think the best piece of advice is write what you come to know. Because if you're fascinated by a subject, you'll dive into it, and your curiosity will take you down as deep as you could possibly go into that subject. So write what you come to know. How do I unwind after a day of writing? Physical activity. I mean, I play a lot of tennis. I am a terrible gardener. My wife has an allotment. I'm only allowed to do manual labor. there. Anything to do with the plants means immediate plant death, but I'm very happy to do any kind of menial manual labour. I think putting your hands in the earth and ruffling around after all that kind of intellectual and creative engagement through the day is just the kind of thing that any writer needs to do. What one thing would I like readers to take away from White Road? Well, first and foremost, I want them to enjoy it. It's a ride, it's a journey through the Arctic, and for me, I lived in the Arctic in my mind for years when I was writing that book. And if people can kind of see and feel and fall in love with the Arctic when they read White Road and come out the back end of it caring more about that environment and wanting to protect it, while also having had a wild ride and a great read, then that's what I think I'd like them to take away.